over the summer, just being here.
Yeah, I can understand that.
What about you guys? Do you have any fun?
We have our first guest. Welcome, Katrina.
Oh, hi, Katrina. Feel free to put your camera on and say hi.
Hey.
Hello. We're just talking about holiday plans.
Yeah, I heard a couple of comments. I was going to jump in Austria, where I'm located. Everyone takes August off. There's like nothing happening here.
Yeah. I think the academic year always starts in September 1st in Denmark, so it's a little bit difficult to take August off because then you just arrive back sort of students teaching.
Yeah, we start in October, so that's a little different.
Yeah. Hi, Diego. And Sandra, so people start to drop in now. That's nice.
Hello, Sandra. Great to see you.
Okay, it says I'm moved. Did you read my lips? I said thank you. Same here. You are taping this, obviously. When, I'll tell you why I'm going to ask when we would get a copy. Michael Donnelly, who's my business partner, is also going to be coming with me, and he could not make it today. So, when will this be available?
I think as soon as possible. I also can send you an email if you want, but we definitely make it available to all the participants.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for asking. So feel free to share in the chat where are you from and from which university you are. Hello, Alexis. Welcome. Hello, Anna. Welcome. Hello, welcome Priscilla. Welcome Julian. Welcome Joseph. It's great to see people starting to come. Welcome Oksana. Welcome Katrina.
Hey Danny, how are you?
Hey Katrina, great to see you. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm in the middle of my night shifts, but I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for organizing this.
Thank you for being here. We already have 17 people. Beautiful. Should we wait for 2 more minutes and then start the official part? Great, Laura from Germany, Diego from New York City, Nina from Copenhagen, Katrina from Vienna. Well, next year we will visit you, of course. I'm from Holland, Netherlands. Katrina is from Boston, Michigan University, Venice, Philadelphia. Bowling Green. Koninklijke Universiteit Leuven. I know how to pronounce it because that's Dutch. Boston, New York City, doing a PhD in Amsterdam. Shanghai, China, wonderful. Priscilla from Miami, Florida, lovely. Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to the AOM First Time Attendee webinar. And thank you very much for being here. My name is Danny van Montfort, and I'm the current doctoral student rep at large of the ODC Division, and I will be facilitating today's conversation. The aim of today's webinar is to help you feel a little bit more prepared, confident, and connected as you approach your first annual meeting. As we all know, AOM can be an exciting experience, but it can also feel quite overwhelming at first. There are many different sessions, activities, divisions, and people to meet. Today, therefore, we want to help you understand what to expect, how to best navigate the program, how to connect with others, and how to make the most of your conference experience. I'm very pleased to be joined today by Laura Fey, Nina Meyer, and Katrina Gonzalez. They will share their personal experiences, practical advice, and some of the things they wish they had known when attending AOM for the very first time. And also for the audience, please feel free to post questions in the chat throughout the webinar. To begin, we would love to learn a little bit more about you. So if you didn't do it, please put your name and from where you are in the chat. And then I would love to start the formal part. Laura, first question to you. What do you remember most clearly about your first AOM annual meeting?
Hi, Danny. Thank you very much for organizing today. And hi, everyone. It's really nice to be here. As you can see, we thought about keeping this pretty informal, so you can really feel free to bring your question forward or bring them in the chat. And this is also what I think, remember the most from my first AOM. So my first AOM was pretty overwhelming. It was in 22 in Seattle, downtown Seattle. And I remember that it's just this massive conference, there's tons of people wearing this lanyard, so you can at least identify who's part of the AOM community. But it's like there's so many faces, I didn't even recognize the people I know because you see so many people around. So something that I think was really important for me was to kind of find this breather space, where I could just sit down, relax, breathe, and see how everything goes. And that was, for me, basically the ODC division. At the time, I was the doctoral representative at large, or the incoming doctoral representative at large for the ODC division, the role that now Danny is holding right now. And I just sat in the doctoral consortium, and I just really liked the vibe, and it was a very warm environment. And so I felt like that was a good way of asking some questions about how I should actually navigate the conference and just starting to get to know people. So for me, it was really important to find this space at the conference where I don't have to posture or perform in any way, but can just, sit back and ask questions quite honestly and share also some insecurities and have that space, to connect with people.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Laura. Nina, would you go first?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Nina, and I'm an associate professor in organizational sociology at Aalborg University. I'm also the PDW chair, so part of the elected board. And I first attended the Academy of Management conference in Vancouver in 2015. And was not a very active part of the ODC or any other division for the first years. I don't think I really sort of necessarily understood how to connect with the different divisions. So I attended the conference in a very sort of a curious way. So as Laura, I was also quite overwhelmed by all the stuff that I could attend and spoiled for choice. That's sort of the strongest recollection. I attended as much as I could. which I have since advised people who have their first time to be kind to themselves and sort of realize that it's not possible to attend the conference and not miss out on something, in my experience. So I think I would have loved to have gotten that advice from Laura to also remember to sort of just take a breather from time to time. I attended social stuff and I really liked that, but I don't think I necessarily understood how to manage the balance between the academic and social program, which I'm happy to talk about how I do that now. So yeah, I think that was my first impression. Lots and lots of interesting theoretical and methodological conversation, but also a bit overwhelming.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Nina. Katrina, would you like to go now?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm an associate professor over at Suffolk University in Boston, and I'm also on the elected track on the ODC board as the rep at large. So I'm helping with the doctoral consortium this year. And I started attending AOM back in 2013, so it's been a long time and things start to blur, but I do remember it was so overwhelming as a first year PhD student. And what I would recommend is to focus on some of the smaller divisions like ours. Yes, of course, it's important to see what's happening in OB, or I'm an OB scholar, in OB or in a strategy division at large, or in research methods. But some of the smaller groups are so nice, and you can get a lot more faculty support there. I remember my first year, I signed up for this AOM mentor-mentee matching thing, which was so wonderful because I was matched with Joan Pierce, who has been, I think at one point even, she was on the leadership track at AOM and she's a fellow, and we kept in touch for a long, long time. And so it's really nice. Sometimes those relationships can develop and flourish over the years. And then I've also benefited so much over the years from being involved with and volunteering in the ODC, and just having a network that keeps me accountable as I progress through my career, keeps the pressure on, but in a very positive and supportive way. So those were the other bits that I also tried to take on too much my first year, and I attended all of these paper sessions. And really it's about trying to understand where you might be interested in pursuing research or engaging otherwise in a more practitioner orientation with the Academy of Management. So I think that those conversations are so important. And you might find those through socials, through PDWs, rather than the paper sessions. Not to say that you shouldn't attend those. You should definitely attend some that you're interested in, but don't overwhelm your schedule. Try to find avenues to make those informal connections as well.
Thank you so much. And before we already open the floor with all the questions the audience maybe can have, can you maybe explain a little bit more about the differences between, for example, PDWs, paper sessions, symposia, very broadly the social events?
Yeah, so the paper sessions are put together by the divisions, and those are really formal and structured presentations. You won't have any opportunity really except during Q&A to weigh in on those. The symposia are put together, so they're usually shorter or earlier stage works that are put together by an organizer. And so they're similar to paper sessions, but they're let's say curated on some topic, and because they're earlier stage works, generally there might be a little bit more opportunity to weigh in. And then the PDWs are also orchestrated around some topic, and those are professional development workshops that can help you think about your research or your interests in a different way, or just gather the community around some topic.
Thank you so much. Laura or Nina? Nina, do you have something to add?
Yeah. So I'm a scholar, so it might be a little bit different if you more identify as a scholar practitioner or somewhere else on this sort of lovely divide. I really think I've learned that a good way to navigate the complexity and the sort of breadth of the program is that I don't sort of pre-plan my days too much, but I think about what are the things that I am super interested in right now in my work life. Is there, for instance, I've had years where I've worked really sort of intensely with sense-making theory. Then I've attended a symposium. Someone was kind enough to sort of put together on that with different sense-making scholars, talking about different sort of conversations in this theoretical debate. Maybe I've been really interested in, for instance, engaged scholarship as sort of an approach or a method. Then I've joined PDWs on that. I have sort of submitted a lot of different things to the academy, both to the ODC division, to healthcare management division. Once I submitted a paper to the organization and technology division, where I actually also ended up chairing it. So for me, it was really, really nice to sort of, as Katarina say, broaden the scope a little bit. But I also think that when I've then looked at the socials, I've thought about where do I feel sort of my home is, and that's where I've really attended the ODC because I am an organizational change researcher. And I think I started out believing I belonged more to the healthcare management because that's my empirical domain. But over the years, I have really found my home in this division. And it might take a little bit of time to figure out where the people and the conversations and the sort of activities that you really enjoy are. And they might be in different places, but it's completely fine, right? It's not like you're married to a specific division. You just, these are sort of activities organized by people who are passionate about something, and hopefully you will experience that they're also very open and welcoming. Yeah, so that's how I try to balance the sort of social and the sort of academic part of the program. Yeah.
Maybe I'll just briefly add something. Yeah, I can only echo what both of you've been saying. Maybe in addition, like for me, also AOM is a great space to try out if I'm thinking I'd like to contribute to a new group or conversation. So, often like when you read the literature, sometimes it's a bit difficult, I think, especially as a junior scholar, to find out, is it that I just don't yet get the language and I have to read more papers of this? Or is this maybe a group just, that sees the world very different than I do when you maybe think about reframing a paper or trying a new theoretical framing? And then to actually go to a session from, like for me, for example, that was, I was thinking, okay, maybe the history perspective is something I'd like to go further into. And so then, for example, last year at AOM, I just went to a session from that was focusing on a historical perspective. And I could really see, like, what do they focus on? Is that something that makes sense for my work? Or, like, maybe I have some historical data in there, but that's not the right place for me to be, like, to just try that out. And that's the great thing about AUM, that you can go to individual sessions and just see how this is, and if that works for you. And so I think that's just hugely valuable. And then maybe the other thing for junior scholars in terms of anyone who is either in their PhD or hasn't been to AOM yet, like what was said earlier in terms of the symposia, like that was for me the first way of joining AOM. I wasn't at the stage that I had a very well-developed paper, and I would say usually for AOM the papers, if you're normal, like for me, the go-to two conferences are usually EGOS and AOM. And I'd say, like for EGOS, I'd go with an early development paper that's like in an early stage, and then AOM, I'd go with a much more developed paper. But depending on where you're in your career or what you have under review, you might not have that chance. And if you'd like to go, then I would definitely say think about a symposium, because as it's been said, if you join a symposia, the cool thing is that it can be more early stage. And especially if you're more junior, you can really create that symposium. You organize it. You can get, people that are on that topic in the room, and they will then also listen to your presentation and give you feedback. So that can be a very valuable experience and a cool way, especially in the beginning, I feel, to start building your community. Yeah, so that's, I think, all I'd like to add. I know there's also questions in the chat, so I'll hand over back to Danny. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Laura, and thank you all for asking your great questions in the chat. There is already an interesting conversation going on. Is it okay to leave sessions before the ending of the session? Maybe very brief take. Katrina, can you explain a little bit? Because it happens a lot, I know.
Yes, it happens a lot. So there's some sessions that you have to pre-register for, like a doctoral consortium or another PDW, and they expect your engagement the whole time. So for those sessions, it would be considered extremely rude to to head out early, unless you had, if you have some kind of conflict because you're presenting a paper, then you could let the organizer know. But apart from that, most of the sessions are open and you're welcome to pop in and out at any time. If there's a paper you want to, just one paper you're interested in and not all four, you can pop in. Usually they're presented in order, 15 minutes or 20 minutes each. So you can just pop in for that paper. I also saw on that same topic, the doctoral consortium, the listservs, all of the divisions have listservs. So if you're interested in entrepreneurship and ODC or research methods and ODC, you should start to get on their listservs, because then you're going to see calls for interest in the doctoral consortia or in some kind of participation in some PDW. And so those are sessions you have to pre-register and apply for. And sometimes there's even funding to help with some that may have a gap to help them participate. So we run every year, for example, a doctoral consortium within our division, and we have various sessions. It's 9 to 5. We provide lunch. We have sessions targeted on building your career identity, meet the editors. We have various other panels, feedback sessions on early stage papers, like Laura was saying, that could be really beneficial when you're especially an early stage doctoral a student. So those I really encourage you to take a closer look at. Maybe it's too late now to apply to the doctoral consortia, but the calls for each division generally go out in around March, April. And then the applications are due May, June. So and they're very short applications generally. That's the note there. Sorry, Danny.
Thanks so much, Katrina. Then we have a next question from Julian. Do you have any tips for choosing between two sessions you're interested in and that are happening on the very same time? Laura, how do you deal with that challenge?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, I would also say it's really not so nice to get up and, just join another conversation, especially if you have someone presenting, and especially if that's a junior scholar, that can really not feel nice when you're in the middle of your talk and then people just leave. So just to maybe keep that in mind, I would try and see if you can't prioritize it. Either a colleague of yours and you are interested in both and you can split up and then share notes afterwards, or decide, you can also reach out to people for coffee. If you cannot meet the other person, there's even a tool via AOM where you can chat with people and reach out to them. Other than that, usually, as Katrina also said, there's little breaks. So I would really try to be like, okay, then I squeeze out in this break, and then ideally I listen at the next door before I go in, are they in the middle of the talk? Usually you hear when it ends because people should be clapping. So, then it's a good time to squeeze in. So then at least, while you're still moving in between sessions, you kind of try to do it as considerately as possible. But it's super hard because it's such a big program. But also I'd say, while you might be tempted to move a lot around, there's only so much information you can progress. At some point, when you move a lot between different sessions, at some point you just can't take the information anymore, I'd say. Nina was saying earlier when she introduced her first time, that she really tried to take everything that was there. But I think at some point you just add capacity. So I would try and, really make sure you have breaks in between to get a coffee, also to network with people, and don't don't move too much in between sessions, I'd say. But that's a very personal take, just, like for me, what works best for me, actually.
Thanks, Laura. Nina, you raise your hand.
Yes, I just wanted to add something, and I think Laura is really onto something here, that it's also a matter of finding out how you can best deal with it, right? Because we do have different preferences. And I prefer to sort of select fewer things and then be there, like really be there at, for instance, a paper session or a symposium or a workshop, a PDW, instead of trying to sort of squeeze in and out of the breaks. That's my personal preference, right? You might have a different preference. For me, that works best. And also because I know that the socials in the afternoon or in the evening are also really nice for me, really important places where I can actually connect with people. And if I'm overwhelmed or very tired, I don't I don't enjoy it as much. So I think that's the hard lesson I learned the first year, and I've tried really to sort of work around in the coming years.
Thank you so much, Nina. I see in the chat also many questions are already answered by Katrina, Nina, and Laura in the chat. Are there more questions at this moment?
I think we got one more question that we might have not answered yet about the PDWs and paper development workshop and professional development workshops. And if that's in the context of AOM, if we only refer to professional development workshops, or how to understand that best. Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I think from my side, like people have been, like in my experience, people have been using that pretty interchangeably. But as far as I know, and we'll see what the others say in a second, the language or how AOM terms it, the abbreviation stands for Professional Development Workshop. But often that can be that it's early stage papers. Sometimes it's more discussions about new ideas. So it depends always a bit what the requirements are for these. So I would have a look. Usually the call to submit something is later. So in spring, early summer, depending on who's organizing it and, like what topic they have. Sometimes you need to submit like 500 words or like a short paper. Sometimes you don't need to submit anything really. So that differs a lot. So I wouldn't, it's a pretty creative space that can be used in different ways. So I wouldn't just see it in one way. And I see that Nina has raised her hand, so I pass it on to her.
Yeah, I just say that I completely agree with this. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about the PDWs. I actually really love going to PDWs because they are not necessarily paper themed, right? They are filled with different kinds of activities, and sometimes people share super interesting sort of projects they've been working on, but from different methodological angles, and they can really sort of feel very creative and very inspiring. And yeah, so I just wanted to, for those of you who haven't been to them yet, I would at least check out a few, and maybe also a few where you think, ooh, I have no idea what to expect from this. This sounds really interesting. Let's see what this is, right? A paper session is a little bit more of a sort of recognizable structure. And of course, again, it's a personal preference if you like one or the other.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nina. Sandra, you raise your hand.
Thank you. I would like to share something. I have a complaint, I have a question, and then I have kind of guidance. So here's my sharing. Last year, I was honored to be awarded the Distinguished Scholar Award for ODC Division, which was brilliant. And the first time that Michael Donnelly and I were at AOM, and it was in this one massive building in Copenhagen. There's a whole story about how you could hear from one room to another, and that was disaster. But it was in one building. Now, so that's my sharing my honor. The other thing that I want to say, this is my complaint, is that this year's ODC social and board and honors, all of that are overlapping with an MC panel that I was asked to be on. So, and I think there are a lot of overlaps in the program. No one here can do anything about it, but we've been talking about what do you do when what do we do when there are two things that we want to go to, and that seems to be happening. But I don't know how you program for like 13,000 people. I don't know how many are going to be there. The other thing that I have, here's the question and then the guides. The question is, Michael and I are doing 2 PDWs, one ODC spot. Well, they're both ODC and MC sponsor. I have no idea how to let people know about it. And if there's any advice here. And then about either one. And then the fourth about the guidance. There are fellow Philadelphians on here, and we're going to welcome you to our hot, humid city. I hope it's not. But because we'll be in many hotels and the convention center, I'm curious. I don't know if you've done this before, but I have a big question mark about a kind of gathering place. Last year, there were gathering places because it was in one building. This year will be a little, kind of on the fly or do the best you can. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you. I will just say that I was equally upset that your session overlaps with some of the other sessions that board members need to attend, but it's just I also complained about it. There's nothing that they can do, but it's the nature of the beast, and there are always conflicts, and they do their best, but they just can't fit everything in. So it's unfortunate, but it's I guess what happens when you have so many sessions that you need to schedule. So I would definitely post your session. I know that it's highlighted in several places and I've come across it, Sandra, but I would post your session on the listserv and just let everybody know that that you'd love for them to attend, or sometimes even a LinkedIn post from your personal LinkedIn could be helpful.
Just can you say how I find the listserv? Is this the ODC listserv?
Yeah,
I,
I
help me find it.
I will post, I'll look for it and post the link in the chat. But it's if you're already signed up for the newsletter, right? So it should be in the same system where you signed up for that.
Okay.
For the listserv newsletters. And then in terms of gathering places, I know that last year was it was unusual because we had this one area where we could all convene. Usually most of the divisions are isolated to one hotel or two hotels that are nearby. And so we have a system of hotels and with the main convention center. This is I would say where we're going now is a more typical structure for AOM with one convention center and many hotels. And when I meet with people, I just meet with them in the lobby of one of the hotels where I have a lot of sessions, and then we'll have a coffee or lunch there. So that or in the convention center, right? I don't know if you have any additional recommendations.
Oh, check out Reading Terminal. All the Philadelphians will say it's a beautiful place. It's a great place to go, and you cannot miss it.
Yeah.
Anna says yes.
I also remember some of the Academy annual meetings that have been in Boston, that on this sort of on the Sunday where there wasn't that much planned, sometimes some people would take initiative and sort of say we are meeting up in sort of the Boston Commons or in this park. Join us if you'd like. Sort of an open invitation, and then you can pop by. Right? It's not the same as sort of everyone meeting, but it's a way of meeting up with people, and there will be these kinds of sort of more open invitations. I know I'm an ethnographer, and people who are ethnographers, and if you know the ethnography atelier, the sort of open access sort of community that Ruth Ann Husing has started. They will do something typically adjacent to the Academy of Management meeting, and they'll say like this Sunday, that Sunday for brunch, people who are interested in ethnography join us for brunch very informally here. And I think Katarina and Lauren and Danny, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that there's usually sort of an app version of the program, and it also has a feature where you can actually sort of look out for these kinds of initiatives and check out the program and sort of do a little bit more smart searches in the program and stuff like that, right? I'm not saying it always works perfectly, but at least it's a little bit more manageable than the massive program.
Laura or Katrina, do you have a take on this?
I think everything was said that I would have to say about this. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Then we have a next question from John. Congratulations with finishing your PhD. And you have some interviews with some universities. Does any one of you have any tips for June? I know there is a separate workshop on careers, as Laura already mentioned in the chat. But maybe very briefly, Laura, can you maybe give some tips to June?
Yeah, sure. So maybe first of all, for everyone, depending on what type of job market you're on, if you'd like to stay in academia, there's always the opportunity to have interviews actually at AOM that are scheduled by schools, because everyone is then everyone that is going to the conference is in the same place. So that can make it easier to have like a pre-interview before maybe people are invited to schools. So it can be a great way of getting to know a potential school and someone from the committee or faculty there closer before the rest of the interview processes and maybe teaching and these kind of things start happening. I would say like it makes sense to kind of think about like how many of these conversations can you schedule and would you like to schedule, and which places you might be easily able to go to at a different point in time. So for example, if you're in the Northern American system, there might be the concept of flyouts. If you're in the European concept, in many places, for example, I'm working at the moment in Germany. If you're invited to a German university, you cannot get reimbursements for your travel. So this depends on the country and the school if they have funding for this. So I would think a bit strategically about it. Of course, what's your preferred choices, but also where might there be funding that you will be reimbursed to go there anyway, and where are places, you know, you'd like to really get to know them, but outside of the conference, you wouldn't have had the funds to go there. So that is something that I would also kind of keep in mind. And then also like at the conference, depending on, you know, how much you're going to present, there's already a lot of, in my personal experience, pressure on you. So you want to see like how many of these conversations can you do, and in what environment do you feel comfortable to have them? Because there's different things you can do. You can invite people also to your talks and say, you know, like if you'd like to see me presenting, I'll be in this session, or maybe you've been, you know, like you're at later stage of your PhD, in case you might be considered for an award, you could let them know that, and you can combine it with a little bit of networking, but at the same time have maybe a little bit more natural environment to show your work there and actually even get feedback on your work from them, instead of just moving to this interview setup. So that's just a few points from my side. I hope that's helpful.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Laura. Then networking is, of course, also an important part of the annual meeting. Does any one of you have some simple tips to start a conversation with, for example, a famous scholar, you know?
Well, just to add on to, I think what Laura suggested about marketing yourself when you're on the market is great. And then also, I think a lot, I don't know, you can correct me, maybe I'm wrong, but I think a lot of the market activities are happening more through informal coffee chats rather than through the more traditional interviews that used to be hosted through the AOM. So I would definitely reach out to any universities that you're interested in if they have a position, so that you can maybe attend their socials and meet with somebody for a quick chat to learn more about the position and your fit with the position. I would try to meet people. So there were some scholars that I really wanted to meet. For example, Jean Bartunek, right? And through one of the divisions, I actually don't think it was ODC, but I attended a doctoral consortium, and I asked, there was an opportunity for you to suggest somebody that you might be matched with for the paper feedback session, and I wanted to meet her. So that was the way that I met her. And it was so great because she gave me individualized feedback during that session on some work. And so I think there's a lot of ways you can reach out to them directly. You can be connected to them through some formal mechanism like that, where you might meet somebody that is a big name scholar. I see that. Any advice on how to prepare for the various events, and to what extent should we be familiar with the presenter's work? So if you're meeting with somebody one-on-one like that, you definitely should be very familiar with their work. If you're just attending a session, you don't really have to look up the person before you go, unless if you're attending a session and there's an expectation, there's a commitment from you that you're going to be engaged, then you should probably look up the various participants of that session. That's my...
Yeah. Thank you. Nina, what's your perspective on this?
I'm not sure I have anything to add specifically in terms of sort of preparing for sessions like that. I think Katharina said it beautifully. In terms of meeting people, I think my philosophy has always been, when I've gone to the annual meetings, not necessarily to meet sort of specific high-profile scholars, because I think that A, they're probably super busy with a lot of other things, and B, I've always been more interested in this sort of more in-depth conversations, and I find that they are more unplanned and they are more sort of on the fly, and for me they're more topic driven. So that's just my personal preference, is that I have always really appreciated the different academic and social events as places where I've sort of fallen into conversations with people that I didn't know I would enjoy meeting, and I didn't necessarily know their work in advance. Sometimes I did, other times I didn't, but where we found out that we actually had something really interesting things to talk about. And that goes into how to introduce yourself. When you attend the academy, you can sort of find these little ribbons in different colors. The divisions have different colors, and that's one thing you can use. You can, for instance, say, oh, go up to, I'm just going to ask Anna if I can use you as a proxy, if that's okay, and go up to Anna and say, so this is my first time. I see that you're also in the ODC division. Have you attended anything super interesting, or do you have anything on your program that you sort of would advise me to go to? Just, I mean, it doesn't need to be anything sort of particularly clever or performance-based. Just, this is my first time. Any tips? Do you have anything that you're super excited about? And I think, in my experience, we are curious, interested people. And if someone asks us about the stuff that we're really passionate about, most of us will share what we think is super interesting in the program. And then you can have a conversation from there, right? That would be my tip.
That's a great tip, and thank you so much. What makes the ODC division a distinctive division? Katrina, who want you answer that question?
I think that the combination of scholars and scholar practitioners makes us really distinctive. The other thing is that the community is so supportive, particularly of doctoral students. It's a really small community. So compared to some of the others, it's not that small, but it's small in the sense that you can really get to know people. And as the events progress, you start seeing some of the similar people over again. So there's a bit of familiarity that you can build in even in 1 or 2 years. And that's really the thing that I like most about the ODC.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Laura, what do you like most of the ODC division?
Yeah, I think for me, it's a little bit what I said in the very beginning that I felt like, like you don't have to bring in like your successes or something. It's more about like you as a human and how you develop, and you can ask very honest questions. So like a little bit, hopefully, I mean, it's always difficult in an online environment, but the vibe that you're getting here from the conversation and from Nina, Katerina, and Danny, like the vibes and between us, those kind of things, like that's also for me how the division really is. So yeah, I think that's for me what I like the most about it. And I think you just have to listen to your gut, like what's the communities, what's the divisions that work for you and where you feel welcomed. And then that's a good place to be. And you can try that out through the socials, I'd say a lot, like you get a feel for the people through the socials that they offer. And then, of course, for example, if you're a PhD student through the Consortia, so the PhD consortium, for example, if you sign up for things like that, because there you have a more intense time over a longer period of time than if you go to a paper session. I'd say the paper sessions, or if you look at the program, you can of course see what people present with each division and what is their work. But to really get to know the people better, I would recommend the socials.
And how does it work with the socials? Are there several types of socials, or are there just one kind of social? Who can answer that question?
I can maybe continue a little bit. Yeah, so it depends a bit. There's always some things that might be invitation only from some schools, and you might see that. And then some people have an invitation to go there, and others do not. But usually, what the divisions do, this is open. So instead of something that's just from one specific school that might do a specific type of reception, if you go to the program, you can usually find the receptions for each division online, and you can decide where you'd like to go. And it depends a bit what is included. Sometimes, there's a drink included there. Sometimes there's some food included. That always differs a bit on the year and on the budget and stuff like that. But so that way you can kind of get an idea of the socials that are there. And I've just tried very different formats. So sometimes divisions have small formats, like what Nina mentioned earlier, that people from one specific area of research, like the ethnographers that are fond of like the ethnographic atelier, would go for brunch together. So there is these smaller formats. And then there's also these bigger formats like the official division social. So I would just try out, and you can find most of them in the program as well as through newsletters, or if you're at the moment on LinkedIn, you're going to see like lots of people that are promoting different sessions, right? So you can maybe see like, okay, which of these, work with me and my schedule. And then you can just try out what works best for you, if it's more these official socials or the smaller ones, and you can try it out really. And with the socials, there's, you can go there for 5 minutes and feel like, oh, this is not for me. And you can also stay for hours. So there's not like that anyone's going to look like how long you're going to stay there, and you have to find a way to leave again. So I would really give it a try.
And is there a way how to best prepare for a social, or just going to the social and then see what happens? What's your strategy for going to socials?
I think that would be my strategy. And as I shared in the beginning, it took me some time to understand the sort of how to really engage with the divisions. If I could give myself, my younger self, a piece of advice, it would actually be to be more engaged earlier. I think the first several years I went to the academy, I went there thinking of it mainly as an academic conference where people presented their work, and I would listen and I would present my work and we would have a conversation and I'd go home. And that it is also that, but it also has a very sort of rich variety of different opportunities for people who have a little bit of extra energy or ambition to just be part of the conversation and the community, like being a doctoral representative or volunteering for stuff. And I think that's a really, really nice way, at least for me, to meet people around activities and to also give back to this community and be part of sort of the way a specific research community is developing. Danny, you talked a little bit about what is specific about the ODC, and I agree with the different things that were said. And I'd also like to add, as a change researcher, I think it's a huge strength and really, really nice that we have scholar practitioners and we have scholars and we have people who work with this sort of research phenomenon, practice phenomenon from different angles. And I think that's also a big part of why I'm engaging with this, because it's really lovely. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Then we have a question from Goy. What's the difference between division social and division meeting? Katrina,
Yeah, sure. So the division socials are, so that's, sorry, I should have explained what that was when I mentioned that you should attend those as a priority. So those are informal sessions where you can network with all sorts of people that are attending the sessions, and each division will host one. And then they'll serve drinks and little hors d'oeuvres and sometimes more substantial food. It just depends on the division and how they want to prioritize in terms of the spend on the socials. So some divisions are known for putting on, and there might be a list somewhere. I'm not that plugged in to some of the job market stuff, but I know that if you're on the market, there's a list generally with all of the socials in one place so that you can figure out where you want to be present and who you want to engage with. So those are great opportunities to network informally. And then division meetings are I think you're referring to like the business meetings. Those are where we give updates from the division's perspective to the members, give updates about how the division's doing. We quantify a lot of the submissions, the membership, the attendance, and share that with the members. And then we also announce the awards for the year. So best paper awards, and volunteer awards and the like.
We have 10 minutes left. Are there any more questions from the audience? You can use the chat or just raise your hand. And please feel free to ask everything you would like to ask. Because we are the ODC Division, we are very warm, very informal. No stupid questions. Anna, you raise your hand.
So, well, thank you very much for everything that has been shared so far. I don't know if maybe I missed, but I was also wondering if you could share something a little bit on the aesthetic of it, on the dress, perhaps. Because I feel that maybe, yeah, compared to other, I'm also more familiar with EVOS as a conference, and that would be my first attendance. So, yeah, any tips are welcome also in this regard.
Thank you very much.
It was a little bit difficult for me to hear your question, Anna. Would you mind repeating it?
Yes, can you hear me? I will write.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Thank you very much, Anna. And we have a next question from Ivan. Where will be the venue for the ODC Social? Nina, I think you are very well aware of the program.
Actually, I can't remember that specifically. I know it's on our webpage and I know it will be in the program. So my tip would be to, when you start preparing for this, take a look at the program, see where the different divisions have their socials, and just make a note, like Katarina said, where would you like to go? Where would you like to be? Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit easier when you know the city that the annual meeting is taking place in. So maybe some of the locals can help me out here.
Are there any locals from Philadelphia?
Yes, I'm right here. I'm looking up the sessions and I see the ODC business meeting, the Scholar Award, the social are at the Marriott. Level 5, Salon B. The 6 to 8. I guess they're all, yeah, I have it all strung along. So the Marriott, level 5, Salon B. And if you're asking in relation to the convention center, they're all, the convention center, which is long, takes up a couple of blocks widthwise, and the Marriott is diagonal. It's just a block away. Of course, you could be at this end of the convention center, 2 blocks away, but from the corner, it's not far. But there's a big parking lot, and of course that's not hard. And I think Lowe's is the other hotel, and that's a block down behind the Marriott.
Thank you so much, Sandra, for explaining. And indeed, as Anna mentions in the chat, make sure wear your sneakers because between sessions you need to walk a distance.
Absolutely.
We have a few more questions.
And check out the weather. I mean, it's, of course, everything will be air conditioned, but Philadelphia is not famous for brilliant weather in August.
That's an important warning. Thank you, Sandra. A great question from Noor. What does a typical day at the conference look like? Maybe Sandra, can you give your perspective on that? What does a typical day at the AOM look like for you?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Well, this is bizarre that you're asking me because, as I said, last year was my first year. I was there to receive this amazing award. And for the rest of the time, Michael and I were wandering around like kind of rabbits in the wood. We would go outside where people were eating and kind of try conversations, or it was a big maze inside. And that's why I'm here today, and I want to get this video recording from Michael. We were just not grounded. It's so much. There's so many sessions. It's hard to make decisions, and so that's not what I hope anyone has as a typical day. That's why we're going to do a completely different day, except that everything overlaps. But we are doing 2 PDW workshops. Our proposals got accepted, so that grounds us. And then I'm on a panel, which overlaps, but that grounds too. I guess, people are lovely, yeah? I mean, it's just everyone's lovely and willing to talk. You have to just be in the kind of it's pretty great.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Sandra. Laura, what's a typical AOM day for you?
Yeah, I think that differs a lot. It depends always how my energy level is when the conference is on. If I had my holiday before, it's a pretty packed day usually because I do try to go to sessions throughout the day, but maybe see that for lunch I have a longer period where I can maybe meet a co-author that I would otherwise not see, and we can maybe, like have a lunch, have a nice exchange, and also work a bit together. So a lot of people also really use AOM to have that time, or if we are thinking about a certain literature, or we want to know something more in a certain area, we might actually visit a session together. And then I try to have a small break usually, and then go to a social. If I haven't had my holiday before and I'm more strained, then I really try to see just, what can I actually make possible. So then I usually try to go more to longer sessions like the PDWs. They can sometimes be a little bit longer, and I try to have less different sessions on the day, and try to have more breaks in between. So I think for me personally, it depends a lot on my energy levels, but I would always make sure to, like, for if or you're finding out your core divisions, usually for most people, I'd say that's like 2 to 3 divisions that they have a membership with and that they feel a little bit closer. There, I would definitely make sure to try and go to the business meeting, because that's where like awards are being given out and where you get like updates of, how the division is doing and everything. And I would also try and go to the division social. It's really nice. And especially, for example, if you're a student, I mean, that's a place where usually there's some free food and some free drinks, and the conference is usually pretty expensive. So that's also on the, nice soft side of that, I'd maybe say. But also it's just, the people that you might have heard about or you've seen communicating events, for example, via LinkedIn or through the listserv, you can actually see them there and talk to them about the division. And for example, if you have any ideas of what you like us to include, you can, of course, always reach out to us here or via LinkedIn, but you can also talk to us at the conference, actually. So that's, I think, quite nice to actually, have that exchange and do that.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Laura.
Can I just make one more bid for the Reading Terminal Market? If you know you can tell from the outside of the building used to be, where the railroad station was years ago, but it is a very, very old market. It's a tradition in Philadelphia. It's locals, so you'll be the only conference people there because everybody goes to buy their food and to eat lunch. It's got so many different ethnic restaurant areas, foods. It's super. And right, it is a must see and eat and gather. And it'll be crowded at lunchtime because locals go and eat there. But Anna and I are saying, Anna and Susan and I are saying this because the building is all closed up and you wouldn't know it unless you were told to. So we'll all meet there at some point or other. You'll love it.
Definitely. It's beautiful spoken. Thank you, Sandra. Then before we close, I have one last question for Katrina, Nina, and Laura. What is the one thing every first-time attendee should do during the AOM annual meeting? Maybe you can, because of the time, answer very briefly. Laura, can you start, please?
Okay. I think I would set myself one goal or aim, like if that might be to go to a specific session and learn something about something there, or to meet, I don't know, 2 new people, like not, too high aims. And then when you leave the conference, you can see like if you manage to do that, and you do something and you have a feeling of like you've accomplished something, although there might be a lot of overwhelming things, and the general amount of information you're trying to process might take some more months to go in. But yeah, then you have something to leave with, I'd say.
Beautiful. Thank you. Nina, what's the one thing every first-time attendee should do, according to you?
I think Laura has a good point. I think my advice would be don't stress. If you want to keep on joining us, this will be the first in a line of annual meetings. And I think the time spent planning a little bit, looking at the program, but very flexibly. So you have some idea and you don't get too overwhelmed by searching each day and thinking, oh my God, there's 15 things. I think that's it. And then hopefully have a really lovely time and think about just enjoy all the fantastic sessions. It's a little bit like a very, very big candy store. Yeah.
It's a great candy store, indeed. Katrina?
Nothing, just prioritize the social engagement aspect of it. So, socials. I hope, and on that note, I hope to see you all at the ODC social and meet in person there.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Laura, Katrina, and Nina. And also thank you very much, everyone, for attending this webinar. Maybe it's nice to end with just in 1 or 2 words, how are you feeling after this webinar?
This was great.
Thank you, Danny and Laura, for organizing. I think this was hopefully helpful for some people as they're navigating, because it can be overwhelming. So thank you so much.
Great, loud, thank you. Exciting.
Thank you all. Thank you, Danny. You've had the massive share on this organizing on your shoulders. So thank you very much for that. And I hope this kind of gives you a little bit of an insight of how it can be, and also, how okay it is to ask questions. Like, you don't have to come there and be like super prepared and know everything. Like, it's a place to find things out. And there will be lots of more people that haven't been there before. And yeah, just try and get into contact with some and have a good time, really. So yeah, hope you have a really good conference. And I sent earlier in the chat the links to our LinkedIn as well as our website. So, if you'd like to get to know more of our other webinars that are coming up, for example, the career webinar, or other more topic specific things like scholar practitioner focused, then you can sign up there. And if you have any feedback for the division, you can also, of course, always reach out. So have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you, everyone. And hope to see you soon, either in person or online. Thank you all. Have a great rest of the day.